Coming up on the Aces review show, we have Conor McDonald, one of the informed players in the competition, and Daisy takes us in the nitty-gritty of how Carlton can turn around their hopes.
I've taken a deep dive. I've looked at it. I'm not coming with more problems. I'm coming with solutions. Well, looking forward to that. Plus, we nail down and knuckle into whether or not the draw is outdated or we continue just to play for 2 points each.
And if Tristan Cherry, he's put his hand up for the top 4 ruckman in the competition. Stay tuned. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Round 8 review, the Aces AFL show here, as always, joined by my great mate and fresh off a little weekend away down at a Jackalope establishment. But here we are to talk all things footy, obviously a massive weekend of footy. But how was your little getaway, mate?
Hello, Wal. It was nice. It was RDO, so Seven have really made sure that I guess the freshness of the players and their talent across the board is at the forefront. And so this was my weekend. Hodgie was the weekend before. I got this weekend. It's good. It was nice to get away, don't get me wrong, but you still sort of have to have one eye across everything. Otherwise, when I came back on Saturday, there was a fair bit of catching up to do. So some good games of footy. Your Dogs were pretty good. My Pies were very good. And unfortunately, my Blues, again, stunk it right up.
But like you said, there's footy so saturated. In the first 3 games of the round, What a cracking start to the weekend of footy. And then to finish up on a Sunday night, now, albeit I know there's a public or a day off, an RDO for the state, but shit, it felt like a long time from Thursday to Sunday night.
I got into bed last night and rather early, I grant you that, probably about 8 o'clock, and was sitting there going, what actually happened to that game? Like, I've just missed it over the weekend. It was still being played. Roush, you've got a public holiday out there. I don't think too many of them actually got to the stadium to give a shit. And you sit there and you're like, what is going on? So, again, the fixture, quite confusing considering there was the first game on the Sunday was about 3:20. On the Saturday, we had the early fixture, then an hour and a half wait before Geelong, and then a half-hour wait before the West Coast game into the nighttime game. Making no sense to me. Well, making no sense, but here we are.
Here we are. Let's move on. Our Monday Ace, as always, really important part of the show where we laud a player, a coach, or a fan base, or anyone in the media that's had a fantastic job.
You can have the new ball, mate.
I'll start with, I'm going to go to the Sydney game. Great game. Was Sydney v Melbourne. Obviously, Melbourne kept coming and where I think it pushed out to about 30-odd points, and then you just thought that your way it was going to go north, and that was your profit propeller bet as well. But then Melbourne kept fighting. But there's one bloke in particular, Brodie Grundy, his 250th outing. Congratulations to him. But his output alone, look, 26 touches, 15 of them contested, kicked a goal, had 12 score involvements, 45 hit-outs, 11 clearances. Look, he absolutely blew up the stat sheet. But for a player who's in career best form to come out to play like that in his milestone game, hats off to you, mate, because it was a terrific effort. No, I'm got an asterisk here because there's one more player I want to mention. That's Malcolm Rosas Jr.
Yeah, oh my goodness, what a pickup.
With his 7 goals, what a pickup. Only kicked 50-odd goals through his career in his 60-odd games, and to come out and kick 7 would have been the difference in the end too.
Yeah, and well done to the other smalls around him. Tommy Papley, he's become... Remember when Geelong were a really good side and Stevie J and those sort of boys, Chappie, it was more about giving off goals than kicking them yourselves. That seems to be a real shift in their game. But the Brodie Grundy one was interesting because Stephen King tried something different. Big Maxi Heath was in the ruck for a lot of it with Maxi Gawn playing forward. So whether that was a bit of in-game management or however it looked, but Brodie... And when Max and Brodie were going at it, it was sort of old school. Two trying to genuinely separate themselves as to who is the premier ruckman in the comp. It was physical, it was hard, it was tough, it was competitive. It's everything we love about the game. And well done, Brodie. 250 is a great knock and still plenty more to come.
The only probably other thing to mention about Sydney, did you see Sydney in Sydney?
I did see Sydney in Sydney.
If there's anyone that I was ever going to get a photo with, I'll put my hand up and ask.
So the Triple M boys, I think, put it to Errol Goulden because he had to go and present it with a Sydney cap.
Yeah.
And he said his missus had already texted and she was flat. And then they probed him and said, it surely didn't take too much convincing. He goes, bam, went up relatively quick. It's Sydney in Sydney.
I'd take that burden of having to introduce.
Well, we talked about great supporters of your footy club and famous faces in the crowd, and you're still trying to tell us that Paul Hansen's the number one down there at the doggy, and now Sydney have just trumped you
a little bit.
One of the all-timers.
Have you got one?
There was many across the weekend, but it's hard to look past for me the Tigs. It was a win. It wasn't pretty by any stretch. The footy they're playing is by no means sexy, but what they're doing with, I think they had a carryover player and then 3 others to choose from because of their injuries crisis. They're going to have to sort that out. But to go over against the West Coast Eagles, who, although they've been smacked in some games, they've been super competitive in others. So I thought to the Richmond Footy Club, well done to you. You get a win. This is what it's all about. You can all breathe out and enjoy yourselves. So well done, Tiggs. You're my Monday ace.
Great scenes, though, when you got the coaches and you see Adam Uze on the bench and he's just, the last 30 seconds, everyone's elated. So I think that's their first win in 12 outings, but obviously they haven't been too proficient in the last few years. So congratulations to them. And now, Daisy, I'm pretty excited to have this fella on.
Who you got this week?
Career best form, and he idolises one Dale Thomas.
Really?
Yes. So favourite player growing up.
Doesn't really narrow it down.
Doesn't narrow it down. But now we are joined by Conor McDonald from the Hawthorn Footy Club off I reckon, a career best game on the weekend. 28 disposals and 3 goals. How you tracking, mate?
Going really well. I'm pretty giddy at the moment. Get to talk to my favourite player going up, so it's a pretty special day.
You too, Kai, mate. You did divulge this last year down in Tassie, and I was actually really chuffed. People said, you carried on like a flog saying thank you very much, but I was genuinely blown away. Enough about me. You are in career best form. He's 28, the most you've ever had?
Yeah, I've had it 3 times now, so I said to the few of the boys, I'm yet to crack 30, so just give me a few more touches and we'll get there.
Because you were talking throughout the preseason and Sam Mitchell was saying you were knocking down the door to get through the midfield, but it probably wasn't going to happen. But your form and the impact you're having around the footy has meant that he's had to move the magnet.
Yeah, I think I'm in a pretty good spot at the moment, especially with the Wizard Watson as well. We get the bit of a luxury to go up there and do some centre bounces and stuff. But I think the high half forwards that we have really link well with the midfielders as well. So it's been nice to go up there, get a bit more around the footy, get my hands on it a bit more, and then try and be that sort of linkage player between the mids and forwards and get a fair few of our scoring chains going. So it's been a lovely start, which has been nice.
Yeah, to that point, obviously we touched on getting the 28 Aussies and averaging 21 yourself, but 67 score involvements, that's currently 3rd in the league. So your effectiveness in some of the chains, like you said, that you're involved in are really effective for the team.
Yeah, I feel like I've always tried to be a bit of that link player. And I feel like working with those midfielders and forwards over the preseason gave me a bit of that license to be able to go up a bit higher, but then also play a bit deeper as well. So I feel like I'm really damaging when I can be involved in those scoring chains, and I feel like I've been able to do that for the first 8 rounds of the year, which has been nice and a good addition for the team, I guess.
Work rate in the role that you play has to be of a high level, and I was down at Sorrento over summer, and most mornings when I was coming back with a coffee and having a walk, you were shirtless, ripping 400s down there at the Shark Park. Is that something that you have taken to a different level when you come back in and you look at time trials and whatnot? Were your numbers significantly better because you were busting a gut and working your genuine ass off?
Yeah, I always try to have a good pre-season and get down to Sorrento and run a few laps around there. It's nice with a few of the other AFL boys. I'm not quite lucky to have a house down there, but there's a few rich player managers and stuff that have a few houses down there. So that's pretty nice. That's it. That's it. But yeah, I always try to really
down there though, because you end up going to the pub after that and sicking a few titties.
You work your ring off in the morning, and then you're allowed to have a few beers in the arvo. So it's pretty nice. But yeah, always try to have a really good pre-season. And when I came to the club, I thought I was pretty fit and stuff, but I was just a little chubby inside midfielder. So that soon fell off. And I've been working really hard, and I feel like my running's gone to another level, and that allows me to get up and down the ground, as you mentioned.
You talk about that 1-2 punch with your good mate Nicky Watson. Obviously, he's having an outstanding season as well. But is there a player in the league or someone that you're looking at to try and simulate or work on your own strengths? Like, is there another player that you've put up on the whiteboard to sort of model your game off?
I mean, there's always a few, but I think Isaac Heaney's like a genuine, really, really good role model. Just the way he's gone about it, so consistent for the last 5 years. He's just always getting a lot of the football, but then so damaging as well. And you can almost pencil him in for 25 and a couple of goals every week. So I think he's one to look at and try and model my game on. But yeah, I think just being around the likes of Nick Watson, Jack Ginnivan, I think you take a bit of their game into yours and just try and add a little bit here and there. But I do, thoroughly enjoy watching Heaney go about his business.
Now, it is slightly weird because it's a Monday, but you played 5 days ago. So as strange as that sounds, you've been in for review, I assume. What did you make and what did the coaches make of the game? Obviously, You had the 28 scoring shots to 18. Collingwood shot the lights out. So was there a little bit of a sense that we let one slide, but also in the same sense we were lucky to get some sort of points?
Yeah, that was my first draw, and it was a real weird feeling after the game. There was positives and negatives, and for some reason the opposition teams against us have just kicked so straight. I think GWS round one, they barely missed. Collingwood barely missed. So we definitely had the opportunity. We need to work on a bit of our goal kicking this week, so that'll help us. But yeah, we took away some positives, some negatives. And yeah, I think we got a little bit lucky in the end. Dylan Moore drawed it up. So thankful to his goal kicking. He saved us. He was straight in the end. But yeah, I thought we had our opportunities. And yeah, we sort of shot ourselves in the foot.
We're going to touch on the draw in our next seg, thanks to our good friends at Inglewood. But what are your thoughts on it? Do you want a shootout? Do you want extra time? You happy just to shut up shop and take 2 points?
I mean, I think the 2 points will be important later in the year, but I'd love to see a golden goal or something like that. Next score wins, last goal wins, something like that. I think the fans would love it. The whole football world would love it, and it would add a fair bit more excitement to the game.
In terms of, so siren goes back to the centre or where the ball is?
So I reckon siren goes back to the centre and then next goal wins.
Have it out.
That'd be lit. Yeah, I love that.
Now, we spoke of you playing 5 days ago, but you're on again in 4 days' time against Freo, and we'll talk about a blockbuster. You know, you both are up the top end of the ladder. Have you had your preview yet? Because I know you're probably travelling in the next, 24 to 48 hours, but have you turned your attentions to how you're going to overcome Freo?
Yeah, the preview will be tomorrow morning, and I think the whole group's really excited. We've had a pretty tough fixture, and we're playing against the teams that we want to be playing against later in the year. So, Freo are going really well. They'll be really strong, especially over there in the West. And I think it's just another great challenge. We always look forward to playing these teams. A few boys have mentioned that Freo is one of the teams that we need to be competing against or beating now and later in the year, especially when finals come around. So I think it's just another great test. You want to play against these teams. You want to play in big games. So it'll be really nice to play them.
Is Optus Stadium, the ground over there, something that you've played well or somewhere you've played well at in the past? Big deck. I used to love it over there.
Yeah, I feel like it's pretty similar to the G. Kind of reminds me just like real big, wide and open, but we always say when we go over there and we kick one goal, it feels like we've kicked a point. And then when they kick a goal, it feels like they've kicked 6 goals. So it's pretty funny when you kick a goal, usually you're used to the crowd erupting and you could hear a pin drop. And then when they kick a goal, it feels like they've got the most momentum to kick 5 or 6 in a row. So it's a little bit weird, and it's obviously heavily dominated with their fans. So it's a bit of a change up that you got to get used to.
Very good. Now the greater footy environment and world are loving what Sam Mitchell is all about and the way that he goes about his business as coach. Have you got a comment to make on his coaching style and a unique relationship that you guys may have?
Yeah, I think he's a fantastic coach. He's loving his AI, which everyone speaks about, which is quite unique. But I think he's always trying to be ahead of the game in that way. So, yeah, I think he's a great coach. Obviously, I love the fact that he was an out-and-out champion in his own right in his own career. So I feel like you can really take a lot out of his book because he's lived it and breathed it his whole life. But yeah, ever since I've come to the club, he's been my only coach. My first year drafted was his first year coaching. So barely missed a game playing under him, got a really good relationship with him. And the one thing I will say is that he is heavily invested in getting to know the person over the player. So he can coach each person a little bit differently. So some things work for some guys, but he really wants to get to know the person, and then he can coach that player the way they need to be coached.
Fantastic. Well, mate, thank you so much. I know you're a couple of games away from playing your hundredth, but like we said before, you're in career best form. We really value your time and appreciate you coming on the pod. All the best for this week against Freo and the rest of the season. I'm sure we'll be checking in later on to see if you're knocking down the door of All Australian because you're in that good a form. But thanks again, mate. All the best for this weekend and enjoy your day.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Love you, Daisy.
See you, mate.
Jeez, he speaks well, doesn't he?
He's very good, very polished. And dead set, when I was over summer watching him go around, like, you know, when you see some players and they're running and they're just doing a running session, he was like redlining throughout. He is a good runner, as he sort of touched on. But, yeah, it was no surprise. When you put in the work over Christmas, you get the rewards in the early part of the season.
One thing I didn't touch on was a little bit of the rat
Is the rat still there?
Is it still there? Is it gone?
I don't know.
Is it still there? It might be gone, right?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Well, they are growing up the Hawks right in front of our very eyes. Yeah. It's gone from the Hollywood Hawks to sort of more your blue-collar dogged, and it's that was a good game of footy. 13 goals 15 to 15 goals 3, and then a draw at the end.
So let's talk to it. And, Conor had his thoughts on how we would like a draw to be played out. But what's is it outdated? Is it done? What's your thoughts on how it should be played?
Well, do you want to go right into what's brewing?
I really want to go into what's brewing thanks to our great mates at Inglewood Coffee. And the first off the agenda is the draw.
Yeah.
Let's talk it. Let's discuss it.
Look, there's part of me that says in season, just take your 2 points and move on. There's another part of me going, well, if we want to be progressive in this game and we want to sort of continue to evolve, why not make it a 35 metres out, one man on the mark, you've got 5 players, an old penalty shootout directly in front. Wow.
If you want
theatre, if you want theatre, one man on the mark, there you go, and you send out player by player, penalty style. My goodness, would that get everyone involved? And I'll tell you what, if you want to see a few pulsating sphincters, it would be the time for it. Plus, the interesting thing would be who the clubs decide as their kicker.
Yes.
Like we would go across, he's a good goal kicker, yada, yada. I reckon there'd be a few surprise packets.
Some
halfbacks, even some midfielders. Like Cal Ward would have been a lock for the Giants. There's my thoughts. You?
Wow. So that's the soccer style. I'll go the golden point. So I'm going the NFL style where I reckon the siren's not blown and it's just play.
So the sign goes up on the bench.
The game's over. Next score wins.
Wow. And from wherever. So C-Mac said he wanted to go back the guts, which I don't hate either.
I wanted to play out because in that moment, if you've got control, you've got momentum, and it's in your half, well, you got to keep either defending like hell or keep attacking. And then you can imagine
just trying to kick a point, ball staying in.
Anything. Like how crazy would it be? Now, even if it's rushed through, I still think that the elation of then having a 1-point victory, we saw, the 1-point win on the weekend in Adelaide. Like, how good would that be, I feel, anyway, if it's to play? And then you take this through, obviously this has to be consistent with how finals are played out, if there's a draw. But to have a winner in the moment, where the momentum's going, it'd just be outstanding, I reckon. So, look, 2 different views. I'd love the listeners to have to weigh in on the debate and see if you like to keep tradition or to change it to something different like Daisy said. But we'll keep pushing on, Daisy. So, Carlton, I know we've got a big segment later on in the show. Now, I don't want to blow all our tickets too early, but it's their 6th first half win for the year where they've gone on and lost. So, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, the thoughts on it was that just lucky that PointsBet are still powering the show after they put up $6 for them to lead at halftime and then fall away. And we mentioned that on the Aces Thursday show, and I think from all reports, the punters might have enjoyed that. So,
it's $29 this week for those wanting to have a punt.
That's probably the only positive that's come out of the game for Carlton. It's hard to watch, and we will get to it because I've decided to, rather than just sit here and be part of the pile-on that is and how it goes when clubs continue to do this, I'm coming with some solutions. I'm coming with some ideas, and we can touch on that. But, geez, it's a tough watch.
It is a tough watch and for all your faithful fans. And the next point is the whiteboard saga. Look, it's been done to death. It's such a non-story for mine because we spoke about off air about people in the media talk about strengths and weaknesses of players every day.
If you tell me how many people, and if you want to call them old man media, you can, would have referenced the fact that Harry Mackay isn't in great form. Wrong Mackay, that's fine. Ben Mackay also is not in any sort of form. Gone, shell of his former self, not good enough, uncompetitive, whatever you want. These are all phrases that old man media has used to describe Ben Mackay, and then you come out and you see it on a whiteboard that only says lacks confidence, and we're up in arms. Give me a spell, please.
Actually, and a great mate of the show, Josh Dunkley, he was interviewed after the game, and I thought he handled the questions really well.
Same with Fags in his press conference
as well. And they've just fronted it.
Yeah, the only sort of grey area, I guess you could have said, was the comments about Jackson Pryor's partner. Yeah. But again, footy club, inner sanctum. From all reports, Jackson and his partner, Bronte, I think it was, haven't had an issue with it. It's been taken in the way I'm sure it was designed to be there. So, look, ex-teammates, geez, we just love to do it. And whoever took the photo, that grinds my gears more than anything. The way that you think that's your job, the current world and people in general sometimes genuinely leave me scratching my head. But, it was incredible that we made such a big deal out of something that is a non-event.
And that's, again, kudos to Brisbane. Obviously, the back-to-back premiers. They do it well. They handle it. They had their coach speak really profoundly about it. Then they had their leader, their skipper, speak as well. You talk about a club who's in control. That's a great example.
What about, we could have nearly been here again talking as part of Inglewood What's Brewing about the umpiring, because the showdown, it is the best rivalry in footy. Do you agree with that?
It has to be.
But what about that? Adelaide nearly got bloody reamed again.
I know.
What? I don't know who's got the old voodoo doll or whatever it is, or how many cats they've kicked, or how many ladders they've walked under, mirrors they've broken. Yep. This could be on Keezer just looking into them. Yep. But they are like this far away from having every game taken from them.
And do you know one of the best calls I've listened to? AFL Nation called it really well, and you can hear the highlights of their call. And
Triple M's would have been better, but if you're into AFL Nation,
it just came across my desk. I should say Triple M, fantastic establishment, great recording studio. However, but obviously Adelaide faithful in the box, and they were just livid at some of the umpiring calls because the consequences of some of these actions were so big.
Yeah,
and just put the whistle away, gents, and let the boys play. That's a throwaway line, but far out. Geez, it's a good game.
Good game of footy, and I really love the fact that obviously it was a massive weekend and lead up for the Crows too. Yep. Port Adelaide have turned it around as well. So I love the showdown. I love the passion, and you see the scenes. I think Dan does footy put a little bit up where the physio or the doctor from the Crows, the siren goes and he's giving it these ones. Like those, the people, the fans, and the passion within that, they hate each other, and I couldn't love that anymore.
He nearly got me Monday Ace, actually.
Actually, you know what? We'll go back and you can have one, because if you care that much about your football club and your players, and that's what it means to you, you, kind sir, can have our Monday Ace.
Yeah, fantastic. And there was 53,000, I think, people in the stadium. So a great stadium to play football at. But look, that's enough for our first lot of segments. We're going to throw to a break, but there's plenty more to come.
StatMate makes AFL player stats easy. At the click of a button, you can discover insights like you've never seen before. Disposals and goals to fantasy points, how a player performs at a certain venue, or even when a teammate is out through injury, StatMate has you covered. Don't waste your time. Become an expert in just a few taps of a button. AFL player stats and insights thanks to your new best mate. Download StatMate for free today.
Welcome back to the Aces Review Show. It's time for us to take a look at one of our favourite segments from and parts of this actual whole Aces entity is the profit propeller. Well, we went 50% on the weekend, 2 legs out of 4.
Strong start.
Murphy Reid, Tommy went out on a limb and he just had a feeling and he backed himself in and it was good.
It was good. Yeah, I attended that game and he kicked it. I think it was 0.5 of a second left on the clock.
Were you with Tommy in the box?
Not when he kicked it, but I spent the last half and I found him and he was very happy.
Your leg, Harley Reid.
Yeah, strong game again.
23 or more you needed, so you had 26.
26 and a couple of goals. Look, he's got so much star power. There was probably lapses in the game. Again, I was following it quite closely, obviously, because he was part of the profit propeller, but there's probably 15 minutes within a quarter where he goes unsighted.
Yeah.
So it's about bridging that gap between, when he has that.
But if that's 26 and you still haven't, that's 35, 40.
But I want his ceiling to be that high. And I'm not going to underplay that. I want him to be the best player in the competition. I think he's got the attributes to do that. He needs a little bit of support from some of his teammates. But then we went down to Cardinia Park to see Jezza kick his 3 goals free. Had his opportunities, but just a miss. And then,
well, it was probably lucky for me that was a miss, because I was really confident the Swans could have done a number on the Ds. And when it got north of 30 odd points, which is the margin that I needed, I was like, okay, well, this one's done. But the old 36 scoring shots wasn't enough to have them win by any more than a couple of goals. So
I was relaxed though watching that, and I'm, like I said off the top of the show, I was proud of Melbourne. I was proud of the way that they fought. They're a great team to watch. They're in great space. Obviously, there's a fair bit of off-field stuff going on at the minute, but that feels as seamless as it could ever have been, and the football's still backing it up.
Outside the fact that cost us the propeller, watching Stephen King and the way he interacted with Cozzy Pickett at 3/4 time, it looked like he was just saying, mate, if you want to be the best player in the league, you just go and do whatever you want. So, and they have belief. They feel like if they play in a manner, they execute their late game stuff in sort of taking the game on because you have to try and win it, where they went and how they executed. This is a completely different looking Melbourne side, and kudos to the entire coaching staff for presenting a game plan that can be executed by the players and the cattle that they've got out there. So well done to all of them. But unfortunately, the profit propeller goes down once again.
Now, great segue, talking about coaches and coaching.
Oh, yes, please.
We've given our kudos to Stephen King, as we have throughout the year.
Yeah.
It's no surprise that he's continuing this because of how stable he is. But it is time for the Coaches Cobbler, and this is going to go into the great mind of Dale Thomas. Now, if you do follow Daisy's account, Daisy Mail, he broke down, which I thought was fantastic, on Thursday night. There was about 8 or 9 opportunities at Collingwood.
In a minute 40.
In a minute 40 that could have shut that game down.
Yep.
And they failed to do that in big moments. Look, they're going to learn from that. But today we're going to focus on Carlton because, as you mentioned, there's so many people throwing mud at Carlton at the minute and no one's really providing any solutions. So what we're going to do, the sinking ship, they're treading water, they're the rudderless ship, they're everything. But what are some, give us a bit of a direction for those Carlton fans of what you would do if you were steering the bus.
Well, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, which at the minute is exactly what we're getting from the Carlton Football Club. When they rock up after halftime, there's no magnets that have been moved, there is no changes or shifts that have been made, and you kick your first couple of goals, you know that the cliff comes very fast and one by one they fall off the end of it. So just looking purely at the numbers on the weekend, and this probably gives you a free hit if you're Michael Voss and the coaching staff to have some more or take some liberties in how you set the field up, because they lost the hit-outs 30-22, -8 there, clearance -10, 24-34, centre clearance 11-16, -7 there. They gave up 23 marks inside forward 50. They had 40 tackles for the match, 6 of those only in the third quarter. And they somehow won the inside 50s 50-46. So it is just a genuine cluster of anomalies. One of the big talking points, obviously, is Harry Mackay and the form that he probably isn't in. 8 goals in the 6 games this year, coming off 22 goals in 12 matches last year. I think it's time that we completely start to move magnets. So I want to see Harry Mackay moved into the ruck or onto a wing. So you tell me, he runs really well. I've seen Harry in pre-seasons. He's fit enough to do that with his 1 or 2 breaks throughout the quarter, whether that is, again, going forward or maybe behind the footy. You tell me a Harry Mackay on the wing, sliding forward but then also sliding back into defence, wouldn't have an impact on a game like that. So who's going to then go forward? Well, you take your fullback in Jacob Wiedering, who has been criticised. The one thing Jacob does really well, he locks away his opponent and very rarely gets beat. But is that the way the modern game needs to be played? And is that for a player of his calibre, is there other players who are of less talent who could do the same thing? Arm across, see ball, punch ball. I'm saying put Jacob Wiedering to full forward. Play him like Jack Gunston, completely disconnected from your team defence. You sit him 35 metres out and you go, boys, if we get speed on this footy, we're going to turn and we're hitting it to Weeders. Weeders, you either mark it or you bring it to ground. So what do you need then at ground level? Well, you need people who have the ability to get up the ground and speed to get back. Ollie Hollands is someone who hasn't found a spot for himself. Unbelievable work rate, can run. He's going to play forward pocket in my side or half forward. He's getting up the ground and then ripping back to get at the feet of Weeders. Adam Sard, who's been at half back, he's going in the other forward pocket. Speed kills in this game. You need pressure on the ball. They don't allow or play and make enough tackles inside forward 50 or around. So Sard, he can be another one. Probably doesn't have the tank that Hollands does, but he's got speed. He's nimble. And if he gets the ball, he goes at the game. So that's something they need. Brodie Kemp, he can stay at centre half forward. Ollie Florent, another smart, good ball user going inside forward 50. He can play in the half forward line. And then I've got on your other half forward, Cowan. We saw him do some tagging on the weekend. So you start as a half forward, you then swap with a Paddy Cripps. Get Cripper in there for the first clearances of the game, the big body, and then he can play as a half forward, potentially a 6 that comes up into the stoppage as the extra mid. Cowan's going to lock away the opposition's best player. I don't care who you are. Like we saw with Nick Dacos, if you let someone, the opposition best player, play to their strengths and don't take anything away, you get beaten.
Yep.
So we've got Mackay on a wing or in the ruck. The other change I'm making is Ainsworth into the guts. Good speed, good work rate, good user. He's a bull. Get him around the footy and he can get forward and back. Haywood's on the other wing for the point of getting up and back, can intercept mark if required, or Cottrell if Harry Mackay isn't there. The backs, I've moved some magnets. So Nick Newman, he stays at half-back, probably their best kick. Bit of experience as well. Lewis Young was an emergency on the weekend.
Should be playing. Yep.
Not sure why. He goes straight to centre half-back and literally don't try and intercept the ball unless it is there. Win your position. Arm across, win your position. Adam Chera goes to halfback. Ball use, again, he's someone who knows where the footy goes. When he uses it, he goes through the corridor. He's not a massive kick, but he will be daring with ball use. It's not that hard to play halfback, reference a man, and then have 30 the other way. I think he's someone that they could use there. Francis Evans in a back pocket. Frank the Tank goggles on, old-fashioned plumber, but also he's got a bit of mongrel about him.
Yep.
Like, this is a back line that's been passive for so long. Get Frank the Tank in there and put him on whoever you want to be. This week it could be a Kyle Oman. You tell me that they wouldn't be having a scrap at some point in the forward pocket. I reckon they would be, and that sort of lifts the group. Harry Dean at fullback, young kid, inexperienced, but he certainly defends well. He can stay there. The other one, George Hewitt.
Yes.
Been left out of the side.
Just wrote his name down.
Been left out of the side, and obviously there's reasons for it, whether it's his spread, his pace, however they're 2-1 paced. George Hewitt, a bit like what we've seen at the Kangas with Luke Parker.
Yep.
He's big, he's 187, he's strong, he's dogged, he's a competitor. Have him in the back line. He's experienced, he'll at least, may not be experienced in that position, but then
He's played a lot of footy. He's got some IQ.
Exactly.
Yep.
And he will just, at worst, he will break even. I would be so confident in his position. And again, here's a chance to club somebody. Here's a chance to bust a pack open and show a little bit of ticker, which he's lacking. So there's your side starting. That doesn't have Pittonet or McGovern in it, so they can go wherever. My one caveat, you don't have a tackle, you're not playing next week. I don't care how many players we have to drop. I would be, as Michael Voss right now, I'd be saying, right, we don't stand for something, we stand for nothing. And if you don't have a tackle, piss off to the twos, go and sort it out. We're going to set the ground up. It's going to be all about pressure and speed. We're going to rip it when we get it, back to Weeders, front and centre, see you later. Blues win by 10.
That was outstanding. That was outstanding, though. And that's one of the most in-depth, thorough analysis of change. Now, I think probably the question now
and is that probably too much change for an AFL game? Probably.
Maybe. Well, that's my point.
But I'm giving you options as to how you could change some things to give it a completely different look. This could be a quarter.
Move the magnets. Now, that was my question. So, coming up this weekend, what are the absolute locks of changes that you'd start with? Because like you said, there's probably 15 different changes if you did it in totality. But I still think if you're talking about how Carlton are playing, they're winning their first halves, do you change it at halftime? Do you come into the game with a renewed game plan, as you mentioned, about speed killing in the front half? Or what's your approach to this weekend?
Yeah, you've got to, for me, so you've got to take away Brisbane's intercept marking game. So if it's Pittonet, if it's McGovern, if it's Mackay, whoever it is, I'm putting someone like defensive tag on Harris Andrews and play him from behind. Just track him. Let him take you to the ball and do not be outmarked. Bring it to ground. There's the start, because as soon as he marks it, there goes their uncontested mark chip game up the field. Be plugging the corridor with as many numbers as possible. And how that looks, I guess, is different. But the tag, you've got to go and take away something. So who's Brisbane's most damaging player? If it's Lachie Neale and if he's giving it out to these runners, or if it's an Ashcroft who you actually just go and sit on, because he will get frustrated. He'll have to be moved around. It's a tough ask, and I don't expect them to beat Brisbane. I don't, I think Brisbane are just a far superior output and outfit. But when you come up against sides that you should, like a St Kilda, when you give yourself a chance to win the game, if you're just going to sit there and go, right, let's keep this all things even, and you don't throw any challenges, not only to your players, but to the opposition coach's box. Like, it's just at the minute, it's we play, you win.
Yep. Yeah, I'm loving it. Mate, the three in particular I want to highlight, and one I'd lead in the game with is throwing Wiedering forward. You got to put Louis Young in there. Obviously, we questioned whether why he isn't getting a game.
But this could, so if Louis Young's getting flogged, just switch him. There's an option there, but at no point would a club be going, geez, what do we do with Wiedering? He's playing 30 metres goal side. What do we do? You give him a different look.
Yeah. And then the speed in the forward line. So Adam Sard and Ollie Holland's playing that forward, that get up the ground and rip back. That has to happen for mine.
Yeah.
And then Harry Mackay, you mentioned before, throwing him on the wing. I reckon that's ingenious. Inject him in the game. Just give a different look. He's not hitting the score, but
not a bad field kick, but also, so if you're stuck in the half back line, you can isolate him somewhere, whether it be all the players down the line. You may as well take a risk and have him on the far wing.
Yep.
Just roll and boot it to him in a genuine one-on-one.
I agree. Well, fantastic. And please, those listeners, get in your comments and tell us what you think about Daisy's Coaches Cobbler, because I think there's some absolute pearls of wisdom in there. But we'll move on. So well done for that. I know you did a fair bit of, if you could see his notes, it's absolutely outstanding.
How was your trip for Jackalope? Yeah, pretty
good. I don't know how the missus would have gone with that. But we'll talk about 3 games in particular on the weekend. So teams had great wins and pretty poor losses. So there's the flip side.
Mm-hmm.
And the game that I want you to focus on just quickly is the West Coast and Richmond. We've touched on Richmond. You know, we got a kudos for Adam Uze and his boys. But what's it mean for them and what's it also mean for West Coast?
I think the loss probably is bigger than the win in this one. Well done to Richmond for winning. But West Coast, you know, what we spoke about with Richmond, they've got nobody to pick from. You're a young side on your home patch. These are games you just got to find a way to win. Yep. And I reckon, you know, that's probably a pass mark would be finding a way to win. If they're fair income, they should be sitting there going, we are right now with what we've got, a 3 or 4 minimum goal better team, and then that's how we're going to have that as a trademark win, which they didn't. Western Bulldogs, Fremantle, I watched that game. I thought Fremantle I thought it was a bit of a banana peel game actually, but what did you like? The win was better than the loss or the Western Bulldogs?
I reckon Dogs played outstanding and Freo for mine, there's a couple of things they need to fix. And I'm talking about the cohesion inside that forward 50. You know, Freo smashed them in the inside 50 counts, but it's where they're launching their inside 50s from. It's too far up the ground.
Yeah.
They need to find, and we used to call it the Dogs a bridge kick. So a 20-metre pass, a 15-metre pass.
15 to 70 out, you want that ball being.
The launch. Because you got Tracy, Amiss and Voss who are running in all different directions. And then ultimately, because they're launching from so far away, they're fighting for the same pill.
Yep.
And it's saturated with 5 or 6 Bulldog defenders. You've got the wing sliding down as well. So if they're going to become more efficient and utilise these 3 players, like they only kicked 3 goals between them and Tracy kicked all 3. And a lot of them came later in the game where it started to open up a little bit more. But they need to fix that because, look, they're sitting second, I think.
Yeah.
A lot of wins. But when you come up against the better teams, like they will on the weekend against Hawthorn, they've got too much power and strength in that forward line not to be functioning better.
And you can't defend for short pitch as well.
You can't.
When you're coughing it up, 35 to 50 out, it's 1 kick release, and then you've got the width of the ground then to attack back through. So it's a great point.
Yeah. And then the Doggies. So they're sitting now 12th. And who would have thought after the first month of footy where their percentage is through the roof, they're 4 wins from 4 games, and now they're 12, 4 and 4. So look, Bont's banged up. They've still got Treloar, now Vandermeer, Waitman, Lobb, O'Donnell, Darcy. They've still got a lot of injuries and people to come back, but that's not for another month at least. We're talking about those names. So look, they've got Port at the weekend, which I think nearly should be favourites because it's away, the way that Port are playing. Carlton, Melbourne, Collingwood. Look, they're teams that they could be playing and could be winning. But
it's amazing. A month ago, you would have said there is 4 wins.
There is 4 wins. And
now we're sitting there going, geez, can they pinch a couple of them?
So here we go. Like it's really, this is probably the most important month of the season for the Bulldogs because it sets up where they can launch and whether they're going to actually even feature in September or beyond. So look, a big one for mine though is the skipper. Like he was still probably the best player on the team and he was limping around like a mule at times just with that sore knee. The poor bugger, but he's trying his ass off and kicked a miraculous goal late in the game to nearly drag his team across the line. So, look, it's bad for the Bulldogs, but again, it's a sit and watch because they've got a big month of footy going. And then probably the last one, just want to mention, is the Geelong v North Melbourne. Now, some of these stats, like the Geelong Footy Club kicked 16 goals in the last half and they were down 20-minute mark of the third quarter. 7
points. North hit the front. Or were in front at that 20-minute mark.
Yeah, which is crazy. So
I did this game. This was you had a nice relax, did you? Then now drive down to Geelong and watch this putrid mess. The Kangas were pretty good though. No, so Geelong, I give them a tick, and I think if you watch back and see how they sang the song, that's just a trademark or whatever you call it. That's just a win they expected to have by that amount.
Yep.
They didn't put them away until that 4th quarter. And North Melbourne, they'd be spewing. They'd be sitting here again on a Monday going, if buts and maybes, but we stuffed this up. Like, this is on us. We gave them that goal. We coughed a ball up here. We gave away a silly free kick here. Little momentum shifts when you work so hard for your goal. There was numerous times North would get a goal, the next centre bounce would go down, and then Geelong equal it back up.
Yeah.
They're improving. There's no doubt about that. North Melbourne, they have taken big steps in the right direction to be competitive with Geelong for 3 quarters. Arguably going down and commentating, that's all you could have really asked for.
Yeah.
But if you told me at the end of the game without looking at the actual scoreboard that it was a 20-point margin, I would have said, yeah, that's fair. The fact that it's got out to 42, 44, whatever it was, points, you sit there and go, geez, that's fallen away really quickly.
And it's interesting, again, how the coaching staff handle that, whether it's a growth game or a disappointment. Again, you can play the two halves side by side, but at the end of the day, it's about the 120 minutes of footy. The only thing I was really excited from Geelong's perspective, Maxi Holmes, we don't pump him up enough.
We just expect it now, don't we?
Yeah, so 802 metres gained, 30 touches. He was outstanding. And in the absence of Stengel, obviously he's not playing, managed to kick 4.
Because
really
he was
important.
in career worst form coming into this.
Yeah,
career low numbers.
So kicking 4 in his absence, I reckon it's a big tick because they need to sort that out because you've still got Shag and Neil kicking 3, and Jerry and Cameron having his 6 shots on goal. So they're still, from their tall forwards, they're getting enough of looks. It's just about complementing them with smalls underneath. But as we push forward, we always love your weekly report card. So Daisy's D-, if you would call it. Let us know who let their fans down this week, because it's always a long list. How many we got on the list today?
2 that let their fans down. But you know what? I'm going to skip them. Essendon and Carlton can both be skipped this week. Look, it's low-hanging fruit. They probably deserve it, but I'm going to give my D- to a fan who let down his side, and that is whoever took the photo of that whiteboard and then released it. If you're a Brisbane fan, you should be honestly writing letters of apology. You need to be better. These are things that when you get access into the inner sanctum, you shouldn't stuff it up because you'll ruin it for the rest of us. And your poor old footy clubs had to answer questions now that is something that they shouldn't even be thinking about. So to whoever that was, D- to you.
Yeah. Because it's just disappointing because that is
just not needed. Well,
it's just inner sanctum stuff though. Like again, and fans and members and everyone's asking for more exposure. Let's get on the inside. Let's get cameras in the rooms.
We want to go everywhere.
Well, a way to stop that is by doing stupid acts like that, and you'll never see the inside of the rooms again, I'm sure. But on the other side of this, we'll dive into the markets that paid the people on the weekend and round out a great show.
StatMate makes AFL player stats easy. At the click of a button, you can discover insights like you've never seen before. Disposals and goals to fantasy points, how a player performs at a certain venue, or even when a teammate is out through injury, StatMate has you covered. Don't waste your time. Become an expert in just a few taps of a button. AFL player stats and insights thanks to your new best mate. Download StatMate for free today.
Welcome back to the Aces review show. Still plenty more to come as we put a bow on this one. It's been an awesome episode so far. We need to check in with StatMate for the treasure hunt, the markets that paid the people, disposals-wise on the weekend. Peter Wright, here we go. Well done to the punters, who's continuing to find him playing through that midfield. 25 or more was 15 clams. My goodness, if you found that, you are a genius. There is a trend here, and I hope the punters at home are following along. Ned Reeves, 15 or more, 7 clams. Tristan Sherry, 30 or more, equal career high for him, $6.50. The big Tallswell, they're getting the ball. They are being used around the ground. They are no longer just hit it here. They are no longer lampposts. They are being involved in offense. So if you are putting together a little same-game multi, of course, you got the Pullum tokens there on the PointsBet app as well. A ruckman to have a decent amount of prune could be some nice value added into your SGMs. What about your goals?
So Walls goals, Sean Manor, we touched on him kicking his 4, $23 if you found that. Now that is paying the people, $23. Wow. Hayden Young, superstar, and some clutch goals in his 3. So he's $17 if you found him for 3 plus.
Too. I might try and find him in the propeller, I reckon.
There you go. Now we talked about Malcolm Rossas Jr.
Yes.
Could only find a market for 4 plus on this one. So if
our traders didn't even go to 7 or more, you would have had to go in and request it.
Yes, and which I don't think you can do. Can you? I'm not sure.
You
can. Righto. You get $16 for 4 plus. Rowan Marshall to kick his 3 was $15. Noah Bolter. Again, kicking his 3 at 13. And then our man, Conor McDonald, who was a superstar on the show, to kick his 3, you got $11 for that. So some nice money there.
There's a very keen eye and watch on the ruckman ongoing here, because obviously but with the algorithm, their stats are always so low. So even when they have a couple of weeks of it, you're still getting some hot sauce there as an add-on because of it. Real or reach time, and I'm going to kick it off to you. Teams that overlooked Nick Watson with pick 2, 3, and 4 have made a grave mistake.
This is a little bit of a reach from mine. Now, if you talk about his output and the player that he could be, look, there's always misses, but he went pick number 5.
Yeah,
that's fair and reasonable. Now, he's been outstanding. I think he's got an upside and a ceiling that's tremendous, and he's going to be a great player to watch for a long time. But for those teams to take a lunge or a leap of faith on a small forward in the top 4 picks, I think that's a reach for mine.
So 1 was Harley Reid.
Yep.
2, Colby McKercher.
Yep.
3, Jed Walter. 4, Zane Dersma to the Kangaroos. He's becoming so far. He's becoming and it is easy to play small forward in a better side than obviously what's happening at the Kangaroos. And young Dersma is starting to make his mark and doing some nice things. North Melbourne.
What's your reaction? Because I still think, look, it's a hard one.
And like I loved the Wizard and I loved everything. I probably didn't see him having as quicker impact that he has in becoming the player he did, if I'm being completely honest. But that's credit to him. He's worked his backside off. He's played to his strengths. He's been embraced by his football club. So
just on that one though, were you watching obviously Thursday night?
Yes.
What's your thoughts on the
handball to himself was actually, it was on, I think he reshared it. I said, this is absolutely filthy because that is if you know type of play. Like we've all done it at some point, I would imagine, whether it's backyard or whatever. You handball it up. Very rarely does the ball then sit for you coming back, let alone if you watch it, he handballs it, it's over there, it bounces left angles.
Doesn't break stride.
And to him, and just doesn't break stride and then dishes it off, goal scored. So that confidence, when you have that skill set, let's go into the trick bag and let's just let it show.
Was it
well
hold
done.
the ball? Move on.
Yeah.
And all right, our man Morgs, who is he's a star of the show. He's back of office, but he is the star of the show.
He's the star of his own show, the 100K podcast, the 100K Sports Boys. Make sure you check them out and all their great work.
But his comments that the Eagles have gone backwards. Is that a real or a reach for yours?
No, the loss on the weekend is a step in the wrong direction. For all the reasons we touched on, Richmond had no one to pick from. The Eagles has shown us a little bit, and if they're going to be a better side, their games they just have to win. So that is real for me.
Yeah, that's a real for me.
Real for you?
It has to be.
We overlooked Tristan Sherry when we were discussing the Premier Ruckman in the comp.
He was listening. He must have been tuning into the show because we had Jackson, Grundy, and Gawn.
How many clearances did he have on the weekend?
Mate, I'm going to read just through some of his stats. Talk about blowing up the stat sheet. So 30 disposals is a ruckman. Like you said, the tall boys are getting it done, but 26 contested. So talk about finding your own pill. Few Carlton players could take a leaf out of his book. 14 of those clearances.
14 clearances.
As a ruckman. And then 8 score involvements. And then talk about intent. So 7 tackles. So talking about throwing your weight around.
And he loves that too.
He loves it,
He
mate.
would be,
Just the helmet on, mate. Me dash. You'd love to run out with him. You'd love him to be your ruckman.
And you wouldn't love to run into him.
No, you wouldn't. He'd sharp elbows. But mate, it's a real for mine. He should be up there. You know, we talked about the top 3. Well, he's either in that or in the top 4. So, look, hats off to what he's doing. And, he's only got upside from here. And the last one, this is a bit of a contentious one, a former teammate of yours, Pendle's gold number 10. It's been discussed. I know Tony Shaw had his own comments on it, but it feels a little bit forced and a bit of a money play.
Well, to some extent, yes, and probably rightfully so. You break the game's record. The club will be cashing in and so will Pendles, and for all the good reasons. I'm just trying to think, though, how many of them are actually going to get printed? Because when you just play in a normal jumper, you swap it, and grand finals, they make you swap at quarter time, half time, 3/4 time so that they can be dished out and distributed as actual being worn on the day. Stevie Johnson refers to the pairs of boots that he wore on grand final day, and I think he only wore one, but claimed that he changed them every 3 minutes. It's going to be hard to do that for Pendles if there's only a finite amount of these that are gone into print.
Yes.
So it's a money play, but in the end, it could be the wrong play because it may cost him some pennies on the other side.
It's a funny one. Like he could write the script.
It's Collingwood, mate. Of course they're going to do it big and better and bold and
gold,
grandeur and gold.
Well, good luck to him. We'll talk more about that obviously as it gets closer to that milestone. But moving on to Monday Money.
Yep.
So we love an early market.
You're on fire. So you now become the Monday specialist when it comes to these.
Thank you. You heard it
the
here
Wall
first.
Street bell has been rung and you are away.
I'm going to get a tattoo of that on my back or something. But let's kick it off. Obviously, I took Geelong last week against North.
So the line was 27.5 on a Monday, and you said you wanted them 40 plus.
I wanted 40 plus, and they were 40 plus in a quarter. So, again, I wasn't that confident come the 20-minute mark of the third quarter, but they got it done. But I'm going to go to, again, another big margin, Brisbane this week.
Yep.
Now, if Vossi doesn't listen to this pod and make some of those changes, or any from the coaching
staff. Even if he does, I don't think that could be enough first.
But the line goes up at 41.5 points at $1.88, but I want to juice that up to 55 points because they've beaten Essendon away at Etihad by 65 points, 64 points. or over 10 goals.
Kicked 100 plus in
They're
all
home.
their games up there at the minute, the Lions.
And they've kicked 22 goals. Morris, Loman, Bailey all kicked their 4. I reckon their forwards are going to have a field day, and Harris Andrews is going to have a field day behind the ball. It'll be a 10-goal margin for Morris.
Yeah, my looking forward wasn't great. Adelaide I took to cover the line in the showdown, obviously. Some players coming out meant that line came down, so that was a miss, but that's the risk you take when you're looking on a Monday. And I took Sydney. I thought the 31.5, that actually line went to 37.5 before bounce down. So all the money in the punters were agreeing the algorithm set it, but Melbourne too good. I'm going to double down on the Swans though. They come up against North Melbourne this weekend. Their line is 26.5. North, Sydney and Geelong, I would say are similar, if not Sydney going better. If Geelong can beat North by 42, Sydney should be doing the same. The Gold Coast Suns and St Kilda, 11.5 is your line there. The Suns should be beating them by 2 or more goals. And Adelaide take on Richmond. Richmond get a win. They've got no players to pick from. Adelaide slightly banged up as well, but 35.5 there, a 6-goal margin. I think should be covered quite comfortably in that one. So there's 3 markets I'm keen to have a look at this week while on that PointsBet app.
Fantastic. Now that's it.
Well done.
That's enough. That's all right. We talk about putting a bow on it.
Is that us for the week then? We can put on
Are we going back to Jackalope?
Well, apparently not. Apparently we're back here on Thursday for the preview show, and in between then there's plenty going on.
There is. And Harry Sheasel was on Tommy Talks, which is a fascinating chat. So make sure you tune into Tommy Talks. And then obviously you can join us live on Thursday for the preview show. Oh, it's not live. It's viewed in the afternoon.
TFG's live.
TFG's live, sorry, on Tuesday morning. So wraps it's a really good end of the show we have. But no, there's lots coming up on the Aces program. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great week. Hope you enjoyed your footy on the weekend. And we'll tune in on Thursday when we'll talk to you. But all the best and have a great week, Daisy.
Thank you, mate.